Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez with Alma Publishing, and we are continuing our conversations with the contributors of Awakening. You are going to have the opportunity to meet the women birthing the new earth. And this morning, I'm so excited to have Hollis with us. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Tell us where you're joining from.
Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is close to Philadelphia, like 10 minits from Philadelphia.
Awesome. We got East Coast in the house. We got Wild West in the house. Oh, my goodness. So I know that in your chapter, you talked a lot about creativity and empowering experiences. And I would love for you to tell a little bit about how these go together for you. How is your message and the work that you do connected to both of these?
Well, I think it's really been a lifelong journey. So I have this company called I Am Creative, which I've been an art teacher for over 25 years in various settings, from teaching ages 2 to 100, literally in urban, suburban, East Coast, West Coast, lots of different areas. And I think creativity to me is just living, really. Because the definition of being creative is the formation of an idea or an object, which is what we do all the time.
Yes.
But I feel like I know, because I've seen that creativity gets stuck in this box of being a visual, like you have to be able to draw or paint. Because it's my biggest pet peeve that I say I'm an art teacher, I have my company, I Am Creative, and people immediately say, I can't draw or paint. I'm like, well, neither can I. Like, that's not my thing. That's not what I went to school for. But even besides that, it's not necessarily in my wheelhouse. I use it sometimes to get my ideas kind of out, but it's not my thing. So for me, it's ceramics. I'm more three-dimensional. It's collage. Lately, it's been writing. There are people who have science as their creativity, as they have math, they have teaching, they have cooking. Like, it comes in however. To me, it's what your expression is. How you bring yourself out into the world is your creativity. And I feel like when people sit in their power, when they like own it and realize their talents, is when it comes through. And the empowering experiences, there's like the disempowering and the empowering. But I feel like you have to have the disempowering to be empowered. It just depends on what is it, half full, half empty, whatever.
Yes.
However you want to see it, it's just kind of, I could sit there and be the victim and be like, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. And then you feel stuck. Whereas if you're like, okay, that really sucked, but okay, I learned how to do it differently, or maybe I'm not good at that. So maybe I'll try something different, or this is how it needed to be tweaked. Like, it's just growth.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. It's like there's that spectrum, right? Every experience can be empowering or disempowering depending on how what's our angle? How are we looking at it, right? How are we feeling about it?
It's like our lens. It's like whatever lens we have of that time.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to share a little bit about how you came into my life. Yeah. Because you really came at the perfect time. And I have a feeling that those who watch and who read the book, you're coming into their life at the perfect time as well. I'm a person who's always moving. I'm fast paced. Like, creativity, inspiration is not an issue for me. And when the world shut down, that really threw me off kilter, right? It really pissed me off, right? It put me in this place where I was like, oh no, because I felt constricted, right? And when I found out that we were going to have 30 more days of extreme, like you can't leave the front door type of house arrest in Mexico, I put a post on Facebook and said, I need help, right? Because when I get in this place, like, I burn the house down, right? Like, and everything and everyone goes down in a blaze of glory. And your name came up, and I checked you out, and I watched your stuff, and I knew I needed a space where I wasn't the facilitator, I wasn't the leader, because that's what I always am, right? I needed a space where I wasn't going to be surrounded by clients or friends or basically anyone that knew me. And you have been exactly what I needed. This reminder of that Exactly. Everything is an expression of your creativity.
Mm.
Here's some ideas. Here's some sparks. What about this? What about that? Go do this, right?
Mm.
And since the moment I came into your group, oh my gosh, the things that I created, right? I went into not dabbling, not like once a week, not like here and there, right? I went into full on create. And that was because of you, because of what you created and what you facilitated. I mean, I created more meals. I created hair tonics, hair potions. I created facial serums. I painted. I wrote. I danced. I did yoga. We did hula. Like, we did everything, right? And guess what? You got me. You kept me from sinking in that situation.
Oh, you don't understand. That's going to make me cry. That's like that is just, I love it.
And that's to me what you facilitate. We can sink in our circumstances. We can.
We can.
We can. It's 100% possible. It's probable. It's right there. But what you help me do is to just rev up my ability and remind myself of the power I have to create. And that reminded me, guess what? You also create your reality.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we do, right? Because I mean, you could just sit here and say that's like that's the worst, or da 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 da, or whatever. But if you're like, okay, so what am I going to do with it? Like, I make lemonade, or or I have nothing. Like, what am I going to do with it? So I feel like and for me, it's been a journey. It's like always challenging myself, especially when I'm in all different aspects of life, but I'm like thinking in the classroom, like there were so many times where there's so many challenges that came up, and we were being observed a lot. So people would be popping in a lot and giving their feedback, and they'd always come in at a time where like there was chaos going on,
of course.
which made you feel really small and incapable. And I'd go home and like even during the time I'd be like, oh my God, like am I supposed to be doing this? Am I even any good at it? Like, is anything? But then something always happens where it tweaks and that kid comes up to you and says, something really positive that you never expected. And you're like, whew, okay.
Yes.
not completely worthless. Like it's coming. It's working, and it's just the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what would you say is a good first step for that person who their entire life, whether it was instilled by parents or teachers, society, whatever it was, that they just have labeled themselves as not creative? What's a good first step for them?
Usually it's having a conversation. Usually when I have a conversation with somebody, it immediately, people are like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, are you really good at talking with people? Like, I'm like, what do you feel like? What do you enjoy? Like, if you could do, like, what do you enjoy? And they'll say, well, this, and this. I'm like, then you're creative. And they're like, well, I'm like, and usually they end up saying, I never thought of it that way. Like, I never. So then there's almost kind of like there's like a decompression and almost like a sense of relief from that point. But like taking me out of the equation and just, not having the conversation necessarily. If somebody's finding that, I feel like somebody needs to just kind of like, you could do a few different things. You could literally like do a brain dump, like on paper, and just be like, of the things that you do like, and try not to have your mind get in the way. Like it's your just whatever. I like to jump out of airplanes. I like to cook. I like the ocean. I like just things that you enjoy. And then you can kind of go back and revisit that and be like, okay, well, maybe I could treat myself to doing that like once a week. And then maybe I could find some like-minded people who like to do that. So I feel like you have to take baby steps.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you jump into something full force, you're not going to finish it. Because you're going to get burnt because you might have a certain expectation. I think there's expectations that come along with it. So if you're like, oh, I really didn't like that actually, so I'm never doing it again. And then they just like cut it out. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you didn't like doing that, but okay, so move on to something else. That like look back at your list or go with your gut.
Yeah.
I think it's when people kind of open themselves and actually take time, it's like quieting that noise in your head.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, you said something that reminded me of something. Like, I always loved food. I always had an interest in it, right? So I was the kid after school, I'd turn on the Food Network, right?
Mhm.
And I would watch the recipe and I'd go recreate it. And then at 15, I decided to bus tables at a restaurant because I thought, well, if I love food, then like the restaurant business, right? And I was like, oh my God, like that business would kill me, right?
Right.
I could not imagine a worse hell. And then it was like, oh wait, that's not like that, right? There's a million expressions.
Right.
Even like last Sunday night, call the entire family. I said, come over for dinner, right? And that felt so fun because I got to create this food with all the love in my heart, like think of all the things I wanted to do, and then have everyone sitting there enjoying it. Like, it was the best.
I love that. That's such an important point, though, is having all of those different aspects of something. So you enjoy food, but that doesn't necessarily mean working in the restaurant industry. Like, that's not necessarily what it means. So is it that you enjoy just tasting the food and going to different restaurants and like, being a critic and, trying out different, having a date with yourself or somebody and being like, oh, let's try this and talk about it or whatever. It's just like a party, in your mouth kind of thing. But then if you're making the food or, or you're writing about it or whatever it is, but yeah, there's different components of it. I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, I have to say we did do it a little differently. Last summer we were in Sicily, and that's what we did. We did a tour of tiramisu. We were really set to find the best tiramisu in Sicily, and that was a fun job.
You?
We did.
Where was it?
We were actually, let me even think if I can remember the place. We were in this tiny little town, and everybody kept saying, oh, you've got to go there, you got to go there. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And the real issue is I didn't want to share it after it came. So neither did my kids, neither did my husband. So we learned that desserts are really not meant to be shared. Like, everyone needs to have their own.
My daughter does that a lot, where she'll just, it's not even with dessert. She'll just be like, can I have a taste? I'm like, no.
I love you, but I don't share food. It's really not what I do. I love you. I brought you into the world. I'll do a lot of things for you. Don't touch my food, right?
You're territorial over that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that. But you found the tiramisu in a small town. So was it like a mom and pop kind of place?
Oh, yeah. It was, it was like, you're sure that grandma had done it like that and great grandma, like, and also I think what you've reminded me of is like that experience that I had with the tiramisu or the things that I'm doing. You can feel when love is put into something, right?
I love that. Yeah.
Love can be put into a mathematical equation. Love can be put into a business. Love can be put into a painting. Love can be put in a meal. And it's like when we combine that love, that wholeheartedness, right?
Yeah.
And that connection to, like you said, what we know we enjoy, then others can enjoy it as well. Even if they don't have necessarily the skill, the talent, the whatever, right?
Well, it's that whole energetic thing. It's kind of like people know when you're feeling, it's like, when you somebody walks into a room and there's like negativity with it and you're like
right.
People know when you're excited about something, even if you're not good at it or whatever, but you're excited about it, then people will join in with it. Like this month with exercise and movement, I'm really excited to get a hula hoop. Yes. I can't hula hoop. I say I can't, I'm going to learn, but Carly Dawson is incredible in her hula hooping skills. She also does pole dancing. She also does like salsa dancing and all this kind of stuff, which we're going to talk about. But when I was at my last school, I would literally at recess, hula hoop was one of the sections they could go to. And these little first graders, they'd be like, Miss Citron, time me on the hula hoop. So I would be like having, a little competition with the hula hooping. These little first graders are basically eating a sandwich as they're like, for like 2 minutes. And then I'm like, I have to try. And I'm trying. And they're like, Miss Citron, you have to just move your hips. Like, I'm like, I can't do it.
And I cannot wait to do that as well. I have that on my list. I have like a little shopping list on my phone.
Yeah.
I have hula hoop down because I'm like, and you know what happened when I saw that was coming up in the early morning, I heard, you know what the real key is that that willingness to return to a childlike state, right? Because those kids are not thinking so much in that moment. Adults, we're thinking a ton, right?
Yeah.
They're feeling it. They're there.
Yeah. That's the key. That's the key right there, I think, is actually feeling it, but not actually having to act off every emotion.
Yeah.
Because I think as adults, we tend to get very emotional about things. And if it's in the negative, it's immediately like, zzz. Whereas if you kind of just pull it back, I think there's, I think it is getting back to that for sure. Yeah, that's a really good point.
So what does the world look like when more people remember that they are creative and that they have the power to create and to express themselves in so many different ways? What does the world look like then?
I think people are just happier.
Mm.
I think people are happier because they're just more connected. They're more connected to themselves, which allows them to be more connected with others. And there's a confidence that comes with that.
Definitely.
Because it doesn't have to be like, hey, look at me, I'm the best. But it's just like, look at me, like I'm having fun. Or, I have something to say and I'm not embarrassed by it. Or, yeah, I messed up and okay, let's laugh about it. Like, I think that when people are sitting in their expression and feeling good about it and owning it, then it's just powerful. So I think people would just respect each other more in that kind of place because it's not a competition.
No,
it's not a competition at all. It's just you feeling good about what you're good at, and then being open to learning more.
Yes, absolutely. How can people connect with you?
I have my website. I am creativephilly.net. I have a podcast that I do every week, Creative Conversations, where we get to have these conversations with people to expand the definition of creativity. So I talked with a 13-year-old recently who's an entrepreneur making lip glosses, and she is amazing. Talking to people spiritual. I'm talking to somebody who's a musician. I spoke to a biologist. So you can check out that. And yeah, so through my website is my email, my phone number, all that kind of stuff. Lots of different options.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the work that you do. I want to encourage everyone to connect with you. You've sparked so much in me. And like I said, helped me come into the next chapter. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you for the opportunity. This was like lit me up on this end because I hadn't written before. So yeah, so thank you.
Sweet. You're so welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to remind everyone to pick up their copy of Awakening, Meet the Women Birthing a New Earth. It's on Amazon and it has become a bestseller. And also, if you are ready to share your story, to share your light, and would like to contribute in our next book, Visionary, I'll put the application in the link in the comments below. Until next time, do what Hollis said. Yeah. Be happy. Make the world a happier place. Go create. Remember who you are. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.